This is the Google Earth view of the Western Mass Electric corridor as it crosses West Hill Road and Route 116 here in Plainfield, Massachusetts. We see here a wetland which comes across the corridor, wanders around, and then goes to the south along Mill Brook. This view was taken in early spring, and all the tan areas here are deciduous trees and make a completely thick woodland on both sides of the corridor during the late spring, summer, and fall. I can tell you that the white flag, which says proposed pipeline, is positioned right about here. And when I pace from the white flag to the edge of the corridor, and I'm calling that the edge of the corridor in the wood line, that's 150 feet. There's a flag, pink in color, and it's centered in the corridor over here, and that happens to be 300 feet from the white flag. And there's a corresponding pink flag 300 feet from the white pipeline in that direction. So we've got 600 feet here, 150 feet from the corridor edge here, the proposed pipeline. And if, as we've heard, there's a 50-foot swath on either side of the pipeline that's necessary for construction, that means that a 100-foot swath of trees at least will be taken out through the woods right in that direction, which seems to leave a buffer of trees between, and then you would have two corridors. On my way out to the post office, I saw a truck and equipment indicating a survey crew was back again. No one was around, but I assumed since they had set up a signal device that they might have been off into the woodland and shooting lines again. I walked down the road, and when I approached the truck, I wanted to see where they were from, and Hatch Mott McDonald from Holyoke, Mass. And I moved around the back of the truck to see the license plate, and I could now see they were from Louisiana. Looked up in the back of the truck, I could see the stakes that would go along with the survey. The sign on the dashboard says Kinder Morgan Project Vehicle, Tennessee Gas Pipeline Company, Northeast Energy Direct. Then it says questions or concerns with a question mark after it. But the space below is blank, and it seems like there should be a phone number there or some contact information or something. Anyway, then looking back over to the corridor, I guess the guys must be out there somewhere. Just following in their footsteps here through the deep weeds. Alright, so here I am deep in the woods, and we're looking at proposed pipeline P.I. We've got this up here. Now, if we look over here to the left, I walked in about 50 paces. That seems consistent with the 150 feet along the road. Now, a very long strip of the land on this side of the corridor is owned by Western Mass Electric, but I believe this section right down here by West Hill Road, I think it's a 35-acre parcel if I recall, and it's privately owned, I believe. And if that's so, then the owner must have given permission for the survey. I have this Google Earth map now in a wider view and more flat. And what we can see here is the corridor running through. And this is West Hill Road coming off of 116. And the earlier views have been right down in this region here and a little bit more of an oblique angle. I have this view in place because I've just come back from Summit Road, which is over here at this distance. And walking from the corridor edge, 55 paces, the pin is there with the white flag on it that says proposed pipelines. So it winds up pretty much with the pin that's down here, which suggests that the proposed pipeline route marked by the white flags is running absolutely parallel to the corridor, but 150 feet in from the edge of the wood line. So if the pipeline is buried in an excavated trench, vast numbers of trees are going to disappear, certainly in this section, and I would think in many places along the entire Ned route. If hydraulic directional drilling is used, it seems like many trees will be spared except for the staging areas for the heavy drilling equipment to gain access and workspace. Toward the end of the afternoon, I was going out for errands and saw the truck pulled over on the side by the equipment, 2 guys in it, and another truck from Louisiana idling next to them. 3 guys were talking. I walked up and I asked about the project. I said, I noticed the white flags with the proposed pipeline. They said, yeah, that's the exact route that the pipeline would take. I asked them about the outlying pink lines. I said it looks like it was about a 600-foot wide swath, and they said, oh no, those were just reference points that they would use to set their equipment up, and as they went through the woods, they could shoot lines based on those 2 points. I also then said it looked like there'd be 2 corridors side by side, given that the pipeline route was 150 feet away from the edge of the wood line. And one guy just looked at me and said, well, we just do what we're told. And he said, I think it just has to do with the distance between the power lines and the pipe. Aware of their heavy southern accents, I smiled as I looked down at the sign on the side of the door, and I said, so you're from Holyoke, Mass? And they said, no, we're not from up here, but we do work out of that office. And we all smiled, and I thanked them for the information they'd given me, and I just said goodbye. Many people opposed to the pipeline have questioned how many of the jobs Kinder Morgan says will be created would be local. If the early basic survey work is not being done by local workers, what does that suggest about the potential for jobs in Massachusetts or New Hampshire if the proposed project is ever built?